Hello and welcome at our opening series of crash course, how to manage risks, web products and software teams in recession. Welcome everyone. I hope you can hear us well. Just let us know in the chat on the right hand side if everything is clear and you can hear us well. Okay, great stuff. Thank you so much. Okay, so here we are. Welcome everyone. Today we are opening our series with the first webinar. The webinar will be on how to manage risks, web products and software teams in recession. The webinar will be on crisis strategies for building software and web products and online services. We hope to pass you on some applicable knowledge from experts and practitioners whose careers are closely tied with software development and digital product design. Throughout the entire course, we will also email you some additional materials such as video recordings from the session and additional handouts. So watch out for your inbox and we'll be in touch. We will also give you special limited access to our resource page with all webinar materials. So check out your inbox. So basically, we are Boulder. We are a digital product design and development company based in Poland. We are over 140 people who make products for clients worldwide. We had the pleasure of working for over 250 web and mobile products, and we hope to share with you today the advice that we have for you. So this is our office here based in Gliwice in Poland, where we work. And you can check out more information about us at boulder.com. Today, I have a pleasure of introducing very special speakers. It will be Anna Zarudzka, co-CEO at Boulder, Ula Augustyniak, the product designer at Boulder, Tyberiusz Piankowski, product strategist, and Jeff Coe, our special guest, co-founder of Chartipedia. So welcome everyone, and I give my stage now to Anna Zarudzka. You can, in the meantime, share any questions that you might have for us in the tab on the right-hand side. So basically, we'll be at the end, we have a Q&A session around 15 minutes where you'll be able to hear answers to your questions. You can also vote for the questions you like most. So the questions with most votes will be answered first. And by the end, we also will have a poll for you guys. So please, if you can share your thoughts about the webinar, that would be also great. Anna, now over to you.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure. I will share with you some general overview as a introduction to the webinar today. And what I would be focusing on is the general topic about the crisis strategies. But the key element today and the topic for everyone is a crisis. And I think there is no more place and need to talk about the details or specifics of the current crisis. We are all aware what's going on right now. But what I would like to point out is one aspect that changes both the approach to decisions in business and the way we think about what is needed. And what it is, it's reduced possibilities to approach the risk in general. And among a vastness of thoughts and approaches to the topic of the risk management in an appropriate environment, the work of one person today deserves special appreciation from my perspective, and it's Ralph D. Stacey, the British scientist, and his books from 90s, Managing Chaos and Managing the Unknowable. And everything about that, what he was focusing, and was about our answer to that. And he's the author of the summary in which he describes the complexity of the reality in which the world and every organization operates. And the complexity means many things, but today we live on the borderline. It's a borderline between complex and chaotic. What I'm sharing with you is a simple but still valuable graph. Simple world is simple to plan and manage, and it's very well understood and agreed. Complicated world is the world in which you know the parameters, but assembling and collating them is very complicated. But still, it's possible to manage it somehow. Complex world is the world when I can't predict the action because there are dependencies everywhere, and the dependencies are changing on causes to the other. And of course, it's not so easy manageable. Chaos is something, let's imagine September 19th. There are no stable parameters at all. But what I want to say that today it's very difficult to judge where and when we are between complex and chaotic. So let's assume it's somewhere between. But definitely still we can do many things in a complex world. And we can distinguish, going with the stasis thoughts, a few basic general answers to the complex reality, even reality hooking up with chaos. First thing, and first, let's say, answer, it's distribution. The second one is the reduction of the validation time, the pivots, the quick ons and offs that we can sometimes, or we can just turn on or turn off something. And people. People is the answer to many things, and I will go with that a little bit deeper. The importance of people and the need to exploit their potential, but also the need to take into account them as a topic increases with increasing complexity. Therefore, risk management must place the greatest emphasis on the processes, and processes that take into account the power and challenges of human matter and cooperation between people and all the needs of users and authors. And as you see, the complexity increases together with the, let's say, value we should put to the topic of people. And of course, let's take a look to the risks from perspective of software development and specific risks and everything what is connected with digitization. Based on McKinsey research over the 10 years, the most significant risks are unproven technologies, functional requirements and users, application and system architecture, performance, and the latest one, organizational risks. In the current reality, point 5 requires special attention, and we will talk about it today a lot. Combining people and complexity, organizational challenges are the most important ones from my perspective. And of course, when I mean organizational topic, it's always connected with people and processes. To sum up the answer in general, the direct response to these risks, taking into account previous assumptions from stasis, is something what we could summarize as a set of operating methods and approaches. And as you know, the answer could be very, very wide, and I'm sure that we can't cover everything. But we found some elements which we assume are the basic and the first answer to the risks combining software development and complex reality. The first thing is the budget dispensation. It would be, of course, very difficult, but still there are some frameworks and approaches we can use as beyond budgeting and agile. The second answer is decentralized, let's say, distribution of decision making. It could be done with Scrum and Nexus as a scaling Scrum, distributed authority in roles, self-organized teams, and of course, everything what is connected with good collaboration between people. The third thing would be reduction of validation time, and we could use prototyping and user testing. And of course, everything should be based on a good basis, like evolutionary learning, where we are able to build a constant approach of build, measure, learn, and retrospectives. Minimum viable products, it's a result of this approach, but we can use it to reduce the future process to a minimum, still satisfying the users' groups and needs, and to enable pivots. Quick on and offs, distributed architecture and microservices remove risks. For example, hardware limitations, monolithic architecture of the whole application. And it has the potential to remove risks. For example, single point of failure and server location problems when we go global. Very important thing is something we call, let's say, communication focus. Transparency, single point of knowledge, knowledge management strategies, investment to one vision referency. I'm sure that you know that vision will change, so strategies should change. And the user involvement. User involvement, I mean continuous validation of the needs, involvement of a group of users in the repetitive quick tests, and all the time asking people really using your product. And at the end, but maybe it should be at the beginning, it's some kind of psychological safety we should focus on. And I mean everything, every activity, let's say touching culture or trying to build some kind of culture, changing the complex environment by people and through people. So to sum up everything what I said, the crisis strategies for building software mentioned above can be closed in a general approach into two things: Agile and Scrum. Let's say complex environment can be manageable somehow with that, and Lean Startup tools and approach as an answer to manage the risks in a very iterative way. And today we will be paying special attention to Lean Startup and fast validation. And the agile topics and cultural activities would be a focus of the webinar second and the third one. So everything today, what would be shared with you is based on the experience, and the best person to share the experience about the Lean Startup in our company is Tyberiusz, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and let's go to the topic. As Anna presented previously, a lot of interesting facts regarding crisis strategies and very high level. But for now, let's take a closer look on one of them, Lean Startup. What Lean Startup is in a nutshell. So Lean Startup is a framework for building products, digital products, but not only. Building product as a solution for real problems. To achieve that, Lean Startup is using a validated learning loop, which we explain next. And why is word startup there? Because Lean Startup is focused on variability and uncertainty of conditions, and its typical environment for startups. Why it's lean? Because it's just lean and in matter of approach and in matter of mechanism which are used there. Okay, so as I mentioned previously, the basic mechanism of a lean startup is a loop of validated learning. It's very simple. It's based on 3 steps like build, measure, learn. But maybe let's try to explain it on example. Building of everything is always starting from some kind of hypothesis or assumption. In this example, let's try on our couchsurfing platform, users have a problem with trust between users. So maybe they want to talk with each other directly before they book their place to sleep. It's still just an assumption. In result, they should book more beds frequently. So maybe the solution would be to provide the feature for that. But still, it's the assumption. We could provide the feature, but we know nothing. So then we have to measure that. How providing of those kind of communication will provide value for that. So we have to use some kind of adequate metrics and start to gather real data. Then based on those data, we could analyze that and took some kind of decisions if it's a value in that solution or we should find a problem somewhere else. Okay, so why lean startup is a crisis strategy. In general, as I mentioned previously, it's based on hypothesis and its validations. So it's based on real data. Iterations are quick and in results receive quick feedback, which increasing situation awareness from the market. It's very open and ready for changes and pivots. So it's agile and very responsive. And it's focused on purpose and essence, so it's reducing waste. But let's check it on the chart. What we could see there. In the lower part of the chart, you could see market changes in time. It's of course just the scheme, but show the potential changes, which could be very frequent and crisis situation. And then below that, above that, we could see some frameworks and how they work in relation to those changes. So in waterfall, we starting to build a product and whole development process based on some assumptions, based on some context, very specific situation on the market. But the process, it's very time consuming. So validation could be done in completely different market situation. The product could be completely not aligned with a real situation. In lean startup, also the assumptions are the beginning, but whole process is divided to very quick and fast iteration. Every iteration is finished by validation with the market. So we're receiving real data from the market. And based on those data, we could decide if something is worth to continue or we have to change something to align with the market. So it's a very important part regarding a current situation. But maybe let's focus for now on just one specific iteration. I have a story for that. So some time ago, while working with one of our Arab clients, we faced the challenge of building a very complex product from communications industry regarding SMS, Messenger, and so on. We had some assumptions about how these products should look like, because we gathered a lot of information about potential users during our discovery sessions. Also, we had a lot of experience from previous works, especially in Gulf area. Also, our client had very specific vision about how it should look like, but it was very risky to go with that, because it was still an assumption, and the risk was very huge. So we decided to verify if our data is, maybe not data, if our assumption was right. So to avoid a waste of a lot of money and time, we decided to verify with users. So we decided to prepare two completely different solutions for potential product look and feel based on our assumptions, and we validated it with our users from Arabic market. So it was very great for us, but one of the concepts was completely rejected by users. So for us, that was great information, because gathering data was successful. But the second second solution was successful and was very well received by users. So it starts to be our base for building the whole platform. Even we don't started to build it yet. Thanks to that, we not only saved a lot of money, but we were sure what should be the right direction for that. So as you could heard, in few days, because iteration was probably about a few days, we identified a risk, we managed the risk, we eliminated potential waste, we took adequate decision based on data, and we had a clear vision about further investment direction. But this is a very small example. Probably the next presentation, which will be provided by Ula, our product designer, would be more deep in that topic. So thank you for your attention, and Ula, good luck.
Thank you for answering. What is the lean startup? And yeah, yeah, right now we know better theory, and so let's see how to apply lean approach in practice. Me and Jeff, we would like to walk you through the cycle of build, measure, and learn based on our case of Chartipedia. So let's start. And however, first, let's know better the background. What is Chartipedia, and what is the behind that business? What was the beginning? So Jeff, please tell us more about the business, about the start of your.
Sure. So hi, everyone. Can you hear me right now? I should be unmuted. Okay. So it's a pleasure to be invited by Budir to speak in this webcast. Just to share a little bit about Chartipedia, what is it about, what are we doing? Actually, we started as an Instagram influencer to share data visualization content just because of fun, because we love to create charts. But over time, we find a market opportunity in this field of data visualization. Information overload is a problem that we face every day. Just think of how much content you read every day, the social media content, the news, or the research report, or the Excel data sheet that you deal with every day. We are all tired of reading long tags and tired of all those boring Excel charts. But and then data visualization is really the solution that helps in the sense that it transforms data into simple visualization that everyone can learn the key insights very easily and quickly. But then one problem comes, as a reader, where do you find this kind of great data visualization content? It is actually quite difficult to search them on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere else. And on the other hand, as a creator, it's also very difficult to share the content. Like on Facebook or Instagram or even Pinterest that I just mentioned, they do not allow you to share any code-based content, making interactive data visualization content not possible to be shared. So actually, creators find it quite difficult to build a portfolio in terms of data visualization or information design. So that's where Chartipedia comes in. We try to build an open platform for data visualization, or you can imagine it as just like a Wikipedia combines with Pinterest. Because as a reader, you can search all kinds of topics on Chartipedia, and then you can learn with fun. And as a creator, you can share data visualization made with different tools and build your own portfolio, gain your followers, just like what you do with Instagram, but then we are focusing on data visualization. So that's how we came up with the idea. But just like a startup, we have very limited time and budget. So while we focus on data visualization, research, and design, we come to Bodir and work with them on this project and to build an MVP, minimum viable product for this project. So that's how we come together.
Yes, exactly. So currently, Chartipedia is a platform to share data visualizations. And what's unique in this product, that data geeks, designers, developers can share interactive, coded visualizations. And what's important, no matter what tools they used. However, although we knew the value, that there is the value, that there is the need on the market, there was also a risk that we build this platform basing only on our assumptions without any validation. And question rises about if users would like to build their portfolio on Chartipedia, if we are building the proposal of the product, which answers user needs. So therefore, we've decided to build an MVP version of the platform. And as Anna mentioned previously on the beginning, what is MVP? It's a version of the product with just enough features to satisfy early customers and provide feedback. So this is a tool to determine product potential. And it was also our aim, in our case, to build the MVP product as soon as possible and collect data from the market. So on the very beginning, we started with workshops to align the knowledge between the client, between Jeff and Sebastian, and our team. And at the first place, we built product personas to know better their needs, and also later on to create product which is attractive for them. Of course, we also defined business goals and MVP hypotheses to have a common understanding what should be built, what we are building, and also for later on to know how to recognize if products succeed or fail on the market. We started our implementation process by building functionalities around unique selling proposition. So those functionalities which were the most important for the user, and also which weren't exist in competitor products. During the whole process, we tried to focus on the priorities and on this MVP version and what should be built on the very beginning, what we would like to validate first, etc. However, I remember the moment that as the product was growing, as this MVP version was growing, some new ideas appeared, some maybe ideas that, okay, it would be cool to add something here, or it would be cool to implement also some nice to have functionalities. However, we always try to go back to our basic assumptions and focus that first we should deliver MVP, validate the overall idea, and later on see what should be next. So from your perspective, like what was helpful to create the priorities first, and as well stick to them during implementation process, focus to build this MVP first?
Well, I think as a product owner or like a startup founder, I think it's quite logical that we want to build a perfect product. And then we always want to add a lot of great features to the product. But then one key idea here is that in the lean startup approach, you are building a minimum viable product. So it's not it won't be a perfect product. So every company, including large corporate and startups, has really limited time and resources. So you really have to decide what is the most important feature in your product. And so I think in the lean startup approach, one idea that we have to bear in mind is that we have to have a mindset or thinking that what is key to have and what is good to have. And you need to prioritize your features. So as a founder or as a product owner, before I worked with Bodir, I didn't really have that kind of thinking because I would like to have all the features. But then after collaborating with Bodir and learning more about the lean startup approach, sometimes you have to change your mindset and prioritize your features. I think that actually also allows the startup or the team to have a better understanding of your unique value proposition of the startup or of the product. So I think this is a good approach that you rank them and find out what is the most helpful feature or the most important one to your users. So I think that it helps.
Exactly. So as we are, Okay, so as we are talking about the users, in our case, when the key functionalities were delivered, we've decided to confront our proposal with early adopters group to receive the first feedback and make this first validation. So for that, we've decided to conduct user testing by using the methods of usability tests. So in this method, user is asked to do a specific task, to go through the specific flow, and we are observing their behaviors and how they interact with the product. And as well, we've conducted in-depth interviews to obtain more feedback about the idea, about the proposal, more overall feedback. Also receive feedback about functionalities which are missing, etc. And for that, what was needed? The group of 5 users. For this kind of test, a group of 5 users is enough, and is enough to conduct this test, and you can receive the proper valuable results of the testing. In our case, it was quite easy to recruit this group of users, as we've asked people familiar with Chartipedia Instagram profile and previous website. And if we are thinking right now about that moment, for us it was kind of preparation for the current time. And why that? Because we've conducted this test remotely. We've decided to conduct this remotely, as every of us were in another country, also our early adopters group, and we didn't want to postpone, first of all, the development of the product, and secondly, we didn't want to postpone collecting this first data. We didn't want to postpone this first cycle of validation. And from our experience, we can confirm that it's possible to conduct this remotely. There are a lot of tools on the market that you can use, which are helpful. So don't be afraid about that. It's quite easy. What we would like to also share from our experience from this case, we would like to dispel the myth about the cost of testing. I think that this is also quite common, that we are asking if we should invest in testing, in collecting data, basically, if we should measure. Maybe instead of that, we should invest in adding some new functionalities, developing this product. However, as we can see, in our case, it was a small amount of the budget we spent on testing. And it was thanks to that, we knew later on in which direction we should develop this product further. However, yeah, also in our case, I think that some concerns appeared about the cost, if we should invest in that time to testing, and also if it's the right moment, maybe we should postpone it a little bit, maybe we should, provide more extended version to the users, etc. So Jeff, can you share with us your concerns in that moment, and also why you changed your opinion at the end?
Sure. So I think the really key message that I want to bring to every one of you is that listen to your users, but not yourself and not your team. I think when we work with Kołodziej and during the process of building Chartipedia, I think in the midway of the development process, Ula told us that how about we conduct a user testing with some potential users. And at the very beginning, I really wondered, should we do it? The reason behind is that I don't want to send out my incomplete product to the potential users, because it might give a bad impression to the potential users, and they might not have the full picture, and they might make a negative feedbacks or comments very easily. So and then again, secondly, when the product is not complete, I wonder how helpful and how important is the user testing, because it's not complete. But at the end, I think when I communicated with Ula, she explained to me the benefits of the user testing, and actually we did it. And actually, after the very first user testing, I found it so helpful, because I think when building MVP, you want to make sure you are building a product that fits the needs of the market and fits the needs of the users. So you don't want to make a product just for yourself and to present to investors, but you want to make something that is workable for your users. So I think it's really important to listen to your users. So when I conduct the user testing with our potential user, users actually might have very different opinion in terms of the feature or the design of the product. And I think that helps you and guides you how to build a product. So I think in the lean startup approach, you have three processes. The first is to build and then measure and then learn. I think user testing is definitely worth conducting the process, because you get to learn the ideas from the users at an early point of time, so that you don't you don't talk to the users after completing the whole development, because that would waste your money. So I think it's quite beneficial and helpful if you conduct the user testing at an early stage of time to make sure that you're building something that is workable for your users. So I think that's my experience, and that's how I find user testing important.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so right now we are going to the end of our story. So I think that the most interesting part, like what we've learned from our from this validation cycle. So generally, we met the positive feedback of the idea of the MVP proposal, and for us it was confirmation for our assumption, and also for us it was like a green light that, okay, we should go with this product further, we should develop it, we should iterate in another cycles, of course, validate it later on, etc. What we are afraid of, as I mentioned, this negative feedback. So what in case if we met negative feedback, and what we should do, or there is this worries about negative feedback. However, it's also very valuable, and thanks to that, we see if we should invest in this version of product or those functionalities, or if we are going in the right direction, if we are answering market needs. So we see if there is a risk to investing further or there's not. And in our case, we made only some small improvements, mostly about how to increase user experience, some requests or some copy text wasn't clear for the user, so mostly small issues. What else? We also received the request for some new functionalities, what would be needed to the user, what would be helpful when he was interacting with the product. So after that, after all test results and collecting the data, we prioritize our work once again, because we previously had another ideas, another priorities, and we shuffle our work, shuffle our backlog, basing on collected data from the tests. In that moment, we're in half of our work. We still had half of our budget, client budget, investors, etc. And in that moment, we felt that we knew that we are investing properly, and we know how to develop this product further, that we are going to the right direction. So our conclusion is that the faster you measure impact of the product, the faster you reduce the risk on investing improperly, investing in something which doesn't answer to the market needs. And Jeff, from your perspective, like how you could summarize it, like what were the benefits by applying lean approach in your business, in your startup?
Yeah, I think in short, I think there are two key benefits or values from the lean startup approach. The first one is actually help lowering the risks. Of course, starting up something is a high risk activity, but then in that perspective, you are still trying to lower your risk in that framework. And I think the way that lean startup approach helps to lower risks is that you are trying to make sure your product fits the market needs, because you talk to users, talk to other stakeholders, and listen to their feedbacks, and then pivot, iterate, so that you ensure you are making something that is workable. So I think that's how lean startup approach helps lower the risks. And secondly, it is the time. As we all know, like startups have very limited time. Everything has to be fast. I think the lean startup approach really helps you to build a product in a very quick way. Like in our case, we actually made MVP within 2 months of time, and then we launched it to the public. And then we further listened to even more users' feedbacks. And now we're receiving the feedbacks, and we are aiming to enhance the platform in the near future based on the feedbacks. So I think these are really the two key values brought by the lean startup approach: lower the risk and the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for this summary.
Ula, sorry. I think that it wasn't my time, isn't it?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, because I just wanted to summarize what you've summarized. But in general, regarding what has been said today, and thank you for your presence, Jeff, and I really appreciate your presence here. And what I've learned is a lot more I knew before, so thank you for that as well. But as we have just heard, an example of risk management in software is to validate what we want to do and change quickly. Change, adapt, and ask your users about the feedback, because you don't have a time right now, especially. And of course, you need to have the mindset and teams prepared for agile work as well, the structure and communication channels. And I think that the worst element is that this requires readiness and processes, but it requires a patience at the same time, what can be very, very difficult and challenging right now. I think patience and trust is difficult right now. But all of the risks we most often face in software today, in response to complex and complicated reality, the biggest challenge is organizational risks, as I said at the beginning, and unproven technologies or the system architecture or performance remains important, but product management and organizational challenges beats the rest. And if we use solutions appropriate for complex reality, such as distribution, reduction of validation time, pivots, and quick on and offs, and combining it with focus on people, we have a chance to find ourselves calmer in what awaits us and prepare future-proofing strategies. And this is what we wish you all from our side. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Thank you so much to all the speakers. Thank you for staying with us, for your attention. And now is the time to think up all those important questions. Type them up in the questions tab on your right-hand side, and our speakers will be answering them shortly for you. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to the next 2 webinars that will be taking place as part of the series. As Anna mentioned, they will be devoted to 2 major other aspects. Next Tuesday, we'll be discussing risk management in software and digital product development. That's Tuesday at 2 p.m. And in 2 weeks' time, we will be discussing managing distributed software development teams. That will be on the 5th of May at 2 p.m. as well. And our speakers today were Anna Zarudzka, co-CEO at Boulder, Ula Augustyniak, product designer at Boulder, Tyberiusz Piankowski, our product strategist here at Boulder, and Jeff Koh, co-founder of Chartipedia. You can either leave your questions with us today in the questions tab or type us up an email. We'll be also very happy to answer maybe a bit longer questions at hello@boulder.com. And you are welcome to ask anything you want to know. Okay, so I'll start asking the questions that have the most votes, and that would be from Kate Burton. What is the best way to start using the lean startup approach in my organization? Where to begin? Who would like to answer that?
Maybe I could. I think the best way to start is just to start a measure. Take the first feature you want to deliver for your users. Think what problems you want to solve, how to check if problem is solved, and just start to measure it.
And what I want to add from the organizational development perspective, it's the biggest challenge is the approach, not the process itself. So what you definitely can do is just find some people, even if it's a couple or 3 persons or even 1, ready for this test, and start by starting with a small element, like any element of your product or a new small thing around you, and just try to do it as simple as possible. Because what I found as a real example why it's valuable, it's the value itself. So when you can present your team the value of the test or the small thing you've done with the lean startup methodology, you have them. Before that, it's very difficult because everything what we know right now in the system of education and everything, it's not preparing us for a lean startup approach, to be honest. Everything has to be beautiful and well prepared. But I think that small steps around anything you do, even in an office space, whatever, is a good start with people ready to try.
As Anna said, people love to do meaningful things, and lean startup is the best way, or one of the best ways to do that.
Yeah. Also, after the webinar, we'll be sharing with you a link to hypothesis cards, so you can try to build your own hypothesis regarding your own products and try to construct a test that would validate this hypothesis. So watch out in your mailbox, and hopefully this will be useful for you to guide you through the process as well. Okay, before I ask the next question, I ask you everyone if you could find a few seconds to answer some of our questions that we have for you in the polls section on the right-hand side. We would be super grateful for your feedback regarding this webinar. So before you leave, just take a few seconds to answer those 3 simple questions. Thank you. Okay, the next question is from Adam Surde. Do you have any tips for maintaining transparency while working remotely? Who would like to answer that?
Okay. I would say that the topic of transparency in our company is like 10 years right now. And it's always a question how radical it should be and so on. But if you're asking about tips, and you mean very small elements, is the first thing, it's the answer why you need transparency and where. So when you can find the whole organization as a group of people who would be involved in transparency in general, the first tip would be open at least one place in which everybody can say everything about everything. It means that if you can avoid emails, if it's anyhow possible, because email is the first thing and tool limiting transparency in general. So if you can avoid it and try to post everything you want to people in an open channel, it's the first tip. The second tip would be trying to build the spaces for transparency. I mean, when you have any chat or a tool, limiting the spaces but still keeping open. For example, in our company, The rule is that everything you want to share is an open channel. Even you are talking with 2 or 3 persons, it still remains open, because maybe someday somebody wants to ask a question or just see what's going on. And of course, it seems simple, but it's not, because of the psychological safety we need. The third thing would be all hands meetings, when everybody can sit together, even remotely, and discuss the topics, and the slot for everybody to do it. This is from my side. I don't know, guys, because you have in your teams very special elements, I'm sure about that. So maybe you have something to add.
So I would say that be a little bit another case, that if you are also, right now we are in the moment that sometimes we miss. For example, right now I'm at home, and sometimes I'm missing to see everybody as in the office, to a small talk, and to just see people and talk about something, discuss. So also to keep this transparency, to keep this our community and gathering together, we also have some meetings to just talk, to meet each other, like some quick coffees in the morning, etc. And I think that also in our teams we try to keep the same flow as we were in the office.
So it would be more about the rituals, because the biggest tip regarding transparency is that you have to have embedded transparency everywhere and every time. So anything you do, you should ask yourself a question: how I can do it transparently, and it's a work needed. So for example, when the team just wants to talk, it needs some kind of rituals open for everybody. If you want to send something to the friend, ask yourself, should it be only to this friend? Or maybe I should do it for some group of people. We have some rules as well. The one rule is that we try to avoid one-on-one meetings. Every time you can find somebody interested in the topic, or somebody who has to be involved or should be involved. And the second rule is that anything what we can discuss on the open channel, we discuss on the open channel. So it's more about rules than tools. Oh, it was short.
Thank you guys for sharing so openly. We have one more question from Eve Patterson. Is research and testing that important in design and development process? Why?
Okay.
I can answer that. Yeah, I think actually in my sharing, I already share my experience, because normally the startup team or the company which develops the product has its own thinking. So like my team has our own thinking in terms of the features, in terms of the design, but your potential users might have very different opinion on that. So I think it is really worth conducting the user testing or the research during the process, even at an early stage of time, so you get to know what are they thinking, and not to waste your money and time in developing something that is actually not expected by your users. So I think that's my little sharing. I think it's definitely worth doing that.
Yeah, and I going back to Chartipedia case, I think that after first session with our first user, there was a case that we found a very valuable feedback. And for us, it was like, wow, okay, we didn't thought about it. Like, it was a very, very new idea or fresh idea for us, because we are not the users. And as I mentioned, we were in the moment of half of our work. So why it's important? Because in this case, we're able to invest the budget of our client and budget of investors properly to develop the product and answer users' needs.
question we have in the polls section on the right-hand side for you. Please remember to register to our 2 following sessions next week, and 2 weeks after that, we'll be continuing the crash course. And if you have any further questions, you can always email us at hello@boulder.com, or you can also message us at Twitter @boulder.com. So we are looking forward to your feedback in polls, but also your private messages maybe, and some chats via Twitter. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. It was a pleasure hosting you. Hope to see you all next week. Thank you so much. Take care. Goodbye.